That's some $300 baloney. Society's obsession with thinness goes all the way back to the 1800s. So when a drug shows up that suppresses your appetite and sheds weight really quickly, of course it becomes incredibly popular. Another common side effect is the loss of tissue volume that can occur. When an aesthetic problem arises, you can bet on the beauty industry to find a way to sell you a solution.
Of course.
This claims to target, quote, all GLP-1 facial concerns, including
all of them?
every single one. Dryness, dullness, wrinkles, sagging skin, and more.
Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome back to another episode of Beauty by Your Beaker. That's a new one.
Should we?
Beauty from your own beaker.
It's a BYOB situation.
I hope you all brought one.
Oh, sorry. You showed up and you don't have your own beaker. Okay.
That's really embarrassing.
We literally said on the podcast.
There's an appointment. We're here.
You think we're just coming to the science salon beakerless?
No. This is how you know it's the second episode energy.
Dude, I've had the longest day of my life. And we have a new podcast name.
I amend. We are Beauty by... I look.
Okay.
Okay. Let's try this again.
Take two.
Okay. Welcome back.
Oh my God. My stomach hurts.
This is Beauty by the Beaker. I hope that you guys are excited for another episode. This one is going to be fun.
Super serious.
Super serious. But why don't we just... we're not going to get right into it. Why don't I bore you with some details first?
Oh, sure. Go right ahead. Now that we've had our fun.
Please follow us on the platforms in which you're listening. Where are you listening right now? Spotify? Go follow us on YouTube. YouTube? Go follow us on LinkedIn. Anywhere you're not following, you should be. Because we're on all platforms.
We're on Pocket Cast too, if that's what you're into.
Yeah. Wait, I'm not subscribed on Pocket Cast yet. Anyway, so if you are listening to this and you're not yet subscribed, please go do that. Then come back.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be real quick. We'll wait for you.
Okay, thank you guys so much for subscribing.
Thank you. You can actually just hit there's a button like right down there.
Yeah, it's so
right
close.
Down.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to leave the video. That's going to help us in our mission to having enough storage to continue this podcast. Because need I remind you, since the last time I brought it up, we have not received the funds that are needed in order to get a SanDisk external hard drive.
Yeah, no one wanted to Venmo us after we asked, which...
Odd. You guys want us to just finish the podcast? Should we just be done?
Should we just call it at episode 41?
That's pretty good.
That's not bad for a podcast.
Honestly, calling it at 41 is it's a kind of a weird spot to call it.
Yeah. So,
but we'll do it. Any episode that ends at 41, it's because they ran out of terabytes.
We only had 41 episodes worth of storage space, and this is your fault.
If you subscribe, it'll help us to be able to one day monetize this podcast, because right now it's all self-funded.
Yep, and we are running out of funds and also sense of self.
And also
storage space.
Storage space.
Yeah.
Hard drive space. But that's enough of that. We do our part. We show up. Throw us a bone.
Please. We're begging.
All right. Well, what are we talking about today, Sadie?
Well, speaking of bones, being skinny has been the beauty standard. Well, was that not a good segue? Okay, sorry. Let me restart. Being skinny has been the beauty standard for a long time, like a really long time. In fact, society's obsession with thinness goes all the way back to the 1800s. Before then, it wasn't necessarily the beauty standard. It kind of shifted around the 1800s. So when a drug shows up in our society that suppresses your appetite and sheds weight really quickly, of course, it becomes incredibly popular.
Yeah.
But losing weight that quickly doesn't come for free. There are a lot of side effects, and some of those include nausea, gut issues, the strain that rapid weight loss can put on your kidneys, and aesthetic changes like facial fat loss. It even has a cute little nickname now, Ozempic face. And of course, the beauty industry has also found a fresh new way to take your money through volumizing skincare.
Volumizing skincare.
You heard me right. Yep.
Okay, then.
So today we're going to chat about where Ozempic or GLP-1s came from, what they actually do to your body, and how the skincare world is, in my opinion, gearing up to profit off of yet another insecurity that society has put into your head.
Yeah, creating problems and creating some solutions to those problems.
Exactly.
This will be an interesting one to talk about because I have thoughts on GLP-1s, but I don't know. It's not a topic that I necessarily want to talk about online. I'm going to.
I'm going to force you today.
Yeah.
But
I know for a fact that I don't know. I don't want to say I know for a fact because unfortunately I do know there are skinnier people than me on it. But I also know there's a whole side of it that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant on this conversation, but I also do have some strong feelings on this topic.
I do too. And we're going to get into my personal opinions on it. And I think we're probably pretty aligned in that sense. But first, in order to do that, we have to understand what Ozempic is.
Please.
So today I'm going to tell you a story about how lizard spit became a luxury in the US. So our body makes a hormone called GLP-1, and it helps to manage your blood sugar and your hunger, but it's super fragile. It falls apart in a minute or two, so you can't bottle it up and inject it into your body. Back in the 90s, there were some researchers that found out that venom from Gila monsters, they're the really big orange desert lizards.
Don't they have different colors? Are they all orange, or don't they have pink and green ones too?
They might have different colors. The ones that I saw in the photos were orange, which is why I said it.
Ask Tooth and Claw podcast.
Sound in the comments. I'm sure, they probably have different colors. But they also have a protein called extendin 4, and it works a lot like GLP-1s, but it sticks around for way longer. So researchers were like, oh, this is perfect. We can create a synthetic version of this, and then we can inject it into people's bodies and make that hormone last longer. So in 2005, they created that synthetic version, and then it became an FDA-approved treatment for type 2 diabetes because it helps manage your blood sugar.
Yeah.
And one part of that is suppressing your appetite. So that it comes with it.
Yeah. I actually have a friend, her name's Mary, and she has a podcast called The Mary Moment. And she actually just gave us a really good shout out about the new sunscreen.
Thanks, Mary.
She recently did an episode on GLP-1s. I mean, part of the reason I'm hesitant to speak on it is because I do know people who have benefited very highly from taking them.
Yep.
But she shares a lot of the same concerns that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like you should probably hear them from someone who isn't me.
Experience with it. Yeah. I will say, before we get into the whole discussion of it, that I think both of our takes are probably very nuanced. And I don't want it to seem throughout this episode like I am against GLP-1s because I think they do have a place for people and they're extremely helpful for certain people. I also think they're abused. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I agree.
But so the version that everyone is talking about now is semaglutide, which is better known as Ozempic. This is kind of like an Accutane isotretinoin situation if you listened to last week's episode. Semaglutide is the name of the actual drug, and then Ozempic is the trade name that everyone knows. It belongs to that same class. They're called GLP-1 receptor agonists because they mimic the natural GLP-1 hormone that your gut releases when you eat, like we mentioned earlier. It was originally used by people with type 2 diabetes because controlling blood sugar levels helps prevent complications from type 2 diabetes like nerve damage, kidney disease, and heart problems. And the drug that mimics GLP-1s makes you release more insulin after you eat, which lowers your blood sugar levels. These hormones also slow down the emptying of your stomach, which can help you feel full for longer. And they also send signals to the brain that increases the feeling of fullness, at the same time, which can help reduce your food intake and therefore can help you lose weight.
Yeah. So as I understand what you're saying here, you're putting down things. What I'm picking up is that GLP-1s naturally are released in your stomach after you eat. and trigger insulin and things that normal processes to aid in digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And that this class of medications, the GLP-1 receptor agonists, just bind to the same receptors.
Yep.
And mimic those effects.
Exactly.
So that's why it could help with people that have like insulin resistance. Or are pre-diabetic as well as being diabetic.
Exactly. Yep. And the whole purpose of it is to manage your blood sugar levels. But one, not necessarily side effect, I guess, but like another thing that happens is just decreasing your appetite. So you generally don't eat as much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I mentioned, similar to our Accutane episode, the correct term for the class of drug is GLP-1, but Ozempic is the most popular drug. It's the one that I'll refer to kind of generally for this episode. Other drugs include Wegovy, Saxenda, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. They work slightly differently than Ozempic, but it's the same idea. And interestingly, 3 of these drugs are FDA approved for use in chronic weight management, but Ozempic and Mounjaro are only approved for type 2 diabetes. So using them specifically for weight loss is called off-label use. It means that the FDA never approved it for that purpose, but it's still totally legal for a doctor to prescribe it off-label. Doctors do that all the time with all sorts of different types of medication, but it's just not specifically made for that purpose.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, I don't want you to think that Ozempic is inherently bad. In the US, around 42% of the adult population and 20% of the child population are considered obese. And I think that this drug has been successfully used by a lot of people to lose weight and get healthier. I think my main criticisms of this drug are when people who don't necessarily need to be using it are using it to achieve certain aesthetics, often to an unhealthy degree, especially because it doesn't come without side effects.
Yeah.
So
also in the book that I am going to be talking about a little bit more next week by Elise Hu, Flawless, the K-Beauty book. I'll link that in this episode description as well. But it talks about how increased pressure on women's bodies is often linked to economic crisis.
that would track.
What you were saying about like reaching unrealistic standards, I do think sometimes when things are going very poorly in our surrounding political environment, there's a hyper shift, a hyper focus on body image. And body image standards shift for everybody, even if it's not targeting everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I already have seen that for myself, like just feeling like, I mean, even at the beginning of this episode, I didn't want to say like that I was obviously not their target audience, because like I know that some people would think that I'm now like looking overweight.
Yeah,
you know?
same.
Which is neither here nor there. But like I have noticed an increase in awareness of my own body just because I know everybody else is losing weight.
Yep.
I am just hyper aware of it, and I'm fine.
Well, and there is so much more increased pressure to like also adhere to those standards.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely affects everybody. And it's so hard too because it's everywhere. Like seeing people's bodies is constant on social media.
Yeah.
And you see so many celebrities who have drastically changed and your favorite influencers. And so yeah, it can be difficult to get past the feeling of like, well, it's easy. So like, should I be doing it? Because like everyone else is doing it. And all I have to do is answer a few questions on a website and then they'll ship it to my door.
Yeah.
Should I be doing that? You know? So I think it's probably one of the more damaging trends just because it is everywhere and it is so convenient.
Yeah. That is something that I have been kind of surprised by, is just how quickly it has become like shipped to your door status.
Well, especially for something that has so little long-term data.
Yeah.
At least as far as I'm aware. But yeah, and it also, there are a lot of side effects that come from taking this drug too. Some of those include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and stomach pain. Another common side effect is Ozempic face, which refers to the loss of tissue volume that can occur when you take Ozempic. It often makes your face look sunken in and kind of gaunt, and it can be so severe that many plastic surgeons are seeing a rise of patients who want treatments to help with the soft tissue loss. It kind of looks similar to like the buccal fat removal trend that was happening. Was it a couple of years ago? I mean, it's a very recent trend where you would basically go in and then they would take like all of the fat out of your cheeks so that your face just looked a little bit more chiseled.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same face look that you can get when you're on Ozempic. And there isn't good evidence that GLP-1 drugs target facial fat specifically. What actually is happening is usually more general. You lose fat throughout your body, and that includes the fat pads in your temples, cheeks, tear troughs, and your jawline. And as the fat underneath that gets thinner, the skin that's resting on top of it has less support, so it sags a little bit more. The rapid weight loss can also pull some muscle with it. That includes muscle in your face, which can add to sort of the flat, sunken look. So it's a loss of both fat and muscle throughout your body, but it is pretty obvious in your face especially.
Sometimes I think of it as like a balloon if you fill it with helium and then you let it sit in your house for a couple days and then it starts to sink and then it starts to get kind of wrinkly. Because there's less volume.
Exactly. There's also less collagen and elastin in your balloon and in your face, which is why it can kind of start to look a little bit more gaunt and older. And one theory that I read about is that these drugs aren't really causing accelerated aging so much as just revealing it. This fat loss isn't really like an Ozempic specific thing. It just happens anytime you rapidly lose weight. Like if you get like bariatric surgery, it can also help you look good. Hey, if that's what you're looking for.
It can help you lose weight.
It can.
But it can also help you look gaunt.
Yeah, it can help you lose your collagen and elastin as well. It just has to do with the speed that you're losing weight rather than like the drug specifically.
Yeah. It is important to note that like Ozempic does have side effects that are specific to Ozempic. But there are a lot of these that I think are more likely side effects of almost malnutrition.
Yep.
So that doesn't mean that the drug itself is inherently bad, but there does need to be better education around it.
Yes. And maybe a little bit more control at the speed that things are going. Because losing weight quickly can lead to actual nutrient deficiencies, like you were mentioning, and a drop in fatty acids that can weaken the skin barrier, which can make the skin look drier and duller. Older patients tend to notice it more because they already have depleting collagen levels. And people with significant weight loss can end up looking like 5 years older than their peers, which it's hard to quantify, but they can just generally look a little bit older.
Yeah, some people just look 5 years older than other people too.
Exactly. So. And 5 years younger, like it's sort of not a measurable metric. But also when people regain some weight, like sometimes after you stop using Ozempic, you can regain that weight back. The fat usually doesn't redistribute back to where it was before. So you can still look older even if you're not on the drug anymore. Something to think about. So because of all these changes to your face, when an aesthetic problem arises, you can bet on the beauty industry to find a way to sell you a solution.
Of course. Yeah, I'm already getting ads. Like, has your face changed from Ozempic?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's going to get way worse.
Yeah.
Because there's already been an emergence of skincare products specifically aimed towards the issues that come from Ozempic. So those are things like dryness, dullness, wrinkles, saggy skin.
Saggy skin and what?
A lack of collagen, saggy skin and more. Lack of collagen and loss of facial volume. Wait, that was kind of fun. Dryness, dullness, wrinkles, saggy skin and more.
Wait, what are the other ones now?
Lack of collagen.
A lack of collagen
and your skin is on the floor.
Beautiful.
When I looked up the term Ozempic skincare, I Googled it, of course.
Of course.
There were 2 products that I found that were specifically marketed towards Ozempic. The first one is called Volulift GLP-1 4D Skin Rebound Complex for $134. And this claims to target, quote, all GLP-1 facial concerns, including every single one. This is going to help with it. Okay. I mean, it's in 4D, so I'll explain what they mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't... Okay.
Including deep wrinkles, deflation, sagging skin, and dehydration. The 4Ds are...
I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I've spotted at least 3.
Deflation, deep wrinkles, dehydration, and density. Lovely. Gorgeous. Okay. Its main ingredients are exosome technology. It's like a trademarked thing that they have. L-ornithine amino acid, bakuchiol, HA, silanol, plant collagen fragments, kangaroo paw extract. Don't fear. When I first read that, I thought someone needs to call. It's
a plant.
It's a plant. Yeah. The other product that was commonly advertised is called Derma Reverse for GLP-1 users.
GLP users?
He said poozer.
GLP-poozer. GLP-poozer sounds like someone who invests in
a financial institution.
No, in like a park.
Their name's written on a bench.
Yes.
GLP-poozer. Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Anyway.
The main call-out ingredients of this product are H2OA, which is a bioavailable retinoic acid derivative complex, or a standard retinoid.
Okay.
That's what a bioavailable retinoic acid derivative is.
Yeah.
Is a retinoid. A peptide complex, sodium hyaluronate, and aloe leaf juice. None of these are groundbreaking.
No.
And it comes in a 1 ounce container. Don't read ahead. Okay. I'm going to give you a second to guess how much you think this retails for.
I don't want to. $100? No, not $100. It's 1 ounce.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 1 ounce. $157.
Wrong. It's $300. For 1 ounce, guys.
No.
For
a
retinoic acid derivative and aloe leaf juice. Whatever.
No.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, actually. I was gooped and gagged when I saw that.
Yeah.
And the whole premise behind this product hinges on a theory that GLP-1s thin your skin directly, not just through weight loss. So you supposedly need something special to fix it. But even if that theory is true, what they actually put in the bottle is a retinoid and some peptides, those are good ingredients to look for like anybody, GLP-1 or not.
Yeah.
The GLP-1 part of it is purely marketing. Like, there's nothing in here that's actually special that's going to specifically help for people who are especially dealing with, like, sagging skin and volume loss.
Yeah, I think putting GLP-1 on the title is just another way to, like, point the finger directly at you.
Yep.
You user who's on GLP-1s are the one that needs
this $300 1 ounce serum. Yeah. Well, another thing that they did that was interesting is they have a double-blind placebo study that they did, which we're fans of double-blind placebo.
I do.
However,
I do fancy.
I do fan of.
I do. Yep.
Sue me. But it had 7 participants. The photos they took looked nice, but the sample size was super low. 7 people is like not enough. The study was run by the company that made the product.
I had more people at my dinner table growing up.
Literally.
What a privilege too, honestly.
Truly.
Anyway.
Yeah, what a flex. And the outcomes are a subjective ranking. I read through the study and they just had one person look at the photos.
A double-blind subjective ranking?
Yeah. It was double-blind placebo, but they had one researcher that was just looking at the pictures and being like, yes, this is the side they used it on. So basically, I feel like they did this study to be like, hey, we did a double-blind placebo study on our product, and that justifies the $300 price tag. But like, I don't know. I just don't think it was a well-done study. I'm sorry. Like I said, these are the 2 main products that I could find specifically marketed towards Ozempic. But I think there's going to be a huge wave of new products, not only for a loss of facial volume, but also I think there are going to be things like breath sprays for the rancid breath that some people get while they're on Ozempic. One side effect of it is like horrible halitosis.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. And so like breath sprays, I think will be part of it, and possibly scalp serums for hair loss that can sometimes happen. I think just like a range of products to target a lot of the side effects that happen from Ozempic.
Yeah.
Because like if there's one thing you can count on the beauty industry to do, like we mentioned, it's to sell you a solution to a problem that they created. It kind of feels like the beauty industry is being like, hey, you're fat, you need to fix that. So take this drug. And now you have all these side effects from it. So we're going to sell you products to help with that. And also you lost facial volume. So you should go get some injections to counteract that. It honestly is kind of incredible how this industry manages to sell you a problem and a solution.
Yeah.
All wrapped into one.
Yeah, that is. And I hate to be the one to break it to you. Hopefully I'm not the one to break it to you. But you're not going to fill and regenerate sagging skin from extreme weight loss with topicals.
No.
It's just not possible.
It's not going to happen.
There are like some skin tightening type topicals, but the only transformative topicals are color cosmetics.
Yeah.
Other than that, any difference that you can actually visually see is probably unlikely to really happen. It might for some people, like lip plumping.
Yeah.
But
like over time, obviously we know retinoids work for things like wrinkles or pigmentation, but like retinol or retinoic acid, like my tretinoin is not going to suddenly help fix saggy skin.
Yeah.
There are limits to what topicals can do.
Yes.
You should know that going into it when you start seeing this wave of new products that's probably going to come for all these Ozempic side effects. Like if it looks too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. I agree.
And if you are going to spend money on those things, you're much better off going to a doctor or a dermatologist and getting actual treatments done. Like filler, for example. There are options that you can do that are going to make a bigger difference than any topical skincare would.
Yeah, I think something that's just important to know, and something that we note kind of frequently on this podcast, but maybe not in this particular context as much. As we have seen with like the FDA in the US, things that have proven efficacy take a lot of time to be approved here. Making like broad claims about how something is going to work is kind of a weird claim navigation nightmare jungle. But it's not likely that we're going to have new innovative skincare that's like FDA approved. So it's kind of hard to navigate when brands do pop up like this, that line between innovative skincare and teetering the line of like drug claims. And there is some proven efficacy of, like you said, retinoids. These aren't like groundbreaking specific to GLP-1s. And having like efficacious skincare that is specific to GLP-1s would take such a long time to actually have the testing done. And stuff to prove that it's working. I don't know. There are other methods if you want to try to change your face after losing weight, but also keeping in mind that that's a never-ending goal of chasing appearance. And
go listen to our looks maxing episode. For more on that. I agree. I think overall, Ozempic is a relatively new drug for weight loss specifically, but the desire to be skinny and lose weight is really anything but new. I think just be aware that these companies are potentially trying to capitalize off of insecurities that you might have, because that's sort of how the beauty industry makes its money. And I think just be aware that that's happening so that you don't fall victim to spending a lot of money on something that is not going to do what it says it's going to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
That's my opinion.
Yes.
Okay? And like we kind of mentioned earlier, if you want to go on Ozempic, for whatever reasons you decide to do it, that's your choice. Do whatever you feel like doing, but just be aware of some of the problems that you could be creating for yourself. And please don't spend a lot of money on something that claims it's going to fix those things.
My thought that I think I would like to leave people on is just a reminder that we are not doctors. And before you make any decisions regarding your health, you should talk to a medical professional. That kind of doctor. In person, maybe even. That would be really cool.
Yes.
If you have the means to. I mean, I know that is with the insurance and healthcare that we have in America. It's hard to say like, oh, just go see a doctor, because it's not really that easy. But best case scenario, you talk to a medical professional in person about your situation and figure out the best solution for you. We are not medical doctors.
No.
And we can't see you in person. Although we'd love to one day.
That would be amazing.
But we are cosmetic formulation chemists, and we can look at the ingredients that they're talking about and tell you that that's just another marketing thing. And when it comes to topicals, it's usually just a marketing thing.
Yeah, jumping off of Nat's point, my main goal for this episode wasn't necessarily to tell you what you should or shouldn't do regarding your medical decisions. But it was to sort of give a little bit of context as to like what Ozempic is and kind of the aesthetic changes that can happen. And then hopefully de-influence you from some of the products that are specifically marketed towards Ozempic that we feel probably won't make a huge difference for those aesthetic changes.
Yeah. And hopefully we can de-influence you before it even really takes off. Hopefully you're listening to this episode when it comes out and you're like, I haven't seen those skincare products yet, but maybe I will. And then you won't even have to hesitate or think about it because you know that's just a bunch of bogus.
That's some $300 baloney. Yeah.
I'm going to go buy some tretinoin and
hope for the best.
Pond's.
And Pond's cold cream. Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. And hopefully...
if you are offended, leave us a comment.
Yeah, please leave us... We love to be educated. We love a discussion. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And I want to know if you guys have seen products other than the ones that I mentioned, specifically marketed for GLP-1s, because I was only really able to find these two that were like the biggest ones, but I'm curious to know if there are other ones that are also starting to pop up.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about those ones specifically as well.
Yes, in another episode. But yeah, that's all I have for today's episode.
Well, thank you so much. That is amazing.
Of course.
What a helpful insight.
Truly. And what a story for lizard spit.
Yeah.
Look how far that
That's
thing has
good
come.
PR.
That is really good PR.
Interesting. Who figured that out?
Just some researchers who were looking for, you know what? Let's dive further into that later.
Yeah. If you know, let us know.
Yeah, I was trying to mostly focus on the skincare. So I didn't go super deep into that. But
at any rate, you can find episode notes and sources on our website, beautyxbeaker.com. You can also go follow us on all our socials at beautyxbeaker, and go follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you want to get podcasts, or anywhere you don't get podcasts, but still have the ability to follow us. We would really appreciate it.
Please.
Again, we're trying to make $1 or $2 so that we can afford some memory, so that we can keep this production rolling.
Exactly. So if you want us to continue making episodes, please do those things. Make sure you subscribe. If you don't want us to continue making episodes,
you can let us know on our personal socials.
Go leave us a hate comment at SadieBXB.
Or at NatBXB. If you have a complaint about me, DM it to Sadie at SadieBXB.
That could make us feel really good about ourselves. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. And until then, don't get bit by any Gila monsters.
Yeah, we don't know the consequences of that.
We personally don't.
I mean, science does.
Yeah.
Someone does.
We're not.
Just don't do it, though. It doesn't seem nice.
No, I probably...
And consult a medical professional.
Exactly.
Bye.
Okay, we'll see you next week.